Imagine a world where basketball was little more than a regional game, played in dimly lit gyms, with peach baskets nailed to the wall and players wearing long shorts that nearly touched their knees. The year was 1891 when Dr. James Naismith first invented the game, but nobody could have predicted that decades later, basketball would evolve into a global empire, a cultural phenomenon, and a league that would define greatness for generations. This is not just the story of a sport, this is the story of how a league was born in struggle, grew through chaos, and rose to become one of the greatest spectacles in human history. This is the entire history of the National Basketball Association, and the story begins in the 1940s, a time when professional basketball was fragmented, disorganized, and struggling to survive. Two leagues existed, the Basketball Association of America, known as the BAA, and the National Basketball League, the NBL. The NBL was older, having been founded in 1937, and it operated in small Midwestern towns, often backed by factories and corporations. The BAA, formed in 1946, had a different vision. It targeted big markets like New York, Boston, and Philadelphia, bringing the game into larger arenas that usually hosted hockey. For years, these leagues competed, pulling players from each other, creating tension, and leaving fans divided. But in 1949, after intense negotiations, they merged, forming the National Basketball Association. At that moment, the NBA was born, a league with 17 teams scattered across America, though nobody knew if it would survive. The early years were turbulent. The league shrank quickly, cutting down to just 11 teams as financial troubles and lack of fan interest crippled franchises. Crowds were small, television was barely a factor, and basketball was often overshadowed by baseball and boxing, America's dominant sports at the time. But in those humble beginnings, seeds of greatness were being planted. In the 1950s, the NBA started to develop its first superstars. George McCann, a towering figure at 6 feet 10, became the league's first dominant big man, leading the Minneapolis Lakers to 5 championships in 6 years. Fans came to watch his hook shots, his dominance in the paint, and his sheer size that redefined what basketball could look like. The Lakers dynasty of the 1950s made the NBA a legitimate professional sport, and McCann became known as the league's first true superstar. Yet the NBA still faced challenges. Games were often slow, with teams stalling and holding the ball for minutes at a time. In one infamous game in 1950, the Fort Wayne Pistons beat the Minneapolis Lakers 19-18, a score more fitting for baseball than basketball. The league needed change, and in 1954, it got one of the most important innovations in sports history, the shot clock. A 24-second timer was introduced, forcing teams to take a shot within that time limit. The game immediately transformed, speeding up, becoming more exciting, and drawing in fans who had grown frustrated with the slow pace. The shot clock didn't just save the NBA, it made the NBA. The 1960s brought a new era of stars who would lift the game into national consciousness. Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain became the faces of a rivalry that defined the decade. Russell, the ultimate team player, anchored the Boston Celtics with his defense, rebounding, and leadership, guiding them to an astonishing 11 championships in 13 years. Chamberlain, meanwhile, was the unstoppable force of offense, scoring 100 points in a single game in 1962, a record that still stands. Their battles were legendary, Russell's Celtics usually winning, but Chamberlain's numbers leaving fans in awe. Alongside them, players like Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, and Elgin Baylor brought artistry and flair to the court. The NBA was now filled with legends, but television still lagged behind. Most NBA Finals games were shown on tape delay, played late at night after the news, as the league fought to capture mainstream attention. The 1970s were a decade of both expansion and chaos. The NBA added new teams, welcoming franchises like the Portland Trail Blazers, Cleveland Cavaliers, and Phoenix Suns, spreading the league's footprint across the nation. But competition arrived from the American Basketball Association, the ABA, which launched in 1967. The ABA was flashier, introducing the three-point line, colorful red, white, and blue basketballs, and stars like Julius Dr. J. Irving, who soared above defenders with gravity-defying dunks. For nearly a decade, the two leagues competed fiercely for players and fans, driving up salaries and pushing the sport into new territory. By 1976, the leagues merged, bringing 4 ABA ABA teams into the NBA, the San Antonio Spurs, Denver Nuggets, Indiana Pacers, and New York Nets. Along with them came the spirit of innovation, the dunk contest, the three-point shot, and the athletic style of play that would shape the modern NBA. Yet the NBA of the late 1970s was struggling. Drug use plagued the league, ratings were low, and the finals were still often on tape delay. The future was uncertain, and then, in 1979, everything changed. That year, the NBA introduced the three-point line, borrowed from the ABA, and welcomed two rookies who would alter the course of history, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Their rivalry, born in the 1979 NCAA championship, carried into the NBA, where Magic's Lakers and Bird's Celtics would define the 1980s. Magic's dazzling passes and fast break brilliance electrified Los Angeles, while Bird's shooting, toughness, and clutch performances embodied Boston's grit. Together, they didn't just elevate their teams, they saved the league. Their battles in 3 NBA finals during the decade captivated the nation, and for the first time, the NBA became must-watch television. As the 1980s marched forward, a new figure emerged, one who would transcend basketball itself. Michael Jordan entered the league in 1984, drafted by the Chicago Bulls, and from his first game, it was clear he was something special. With his soaring dunks, relentless competitiveness, and flair for the dramatic, Jordan became the face of the NBA, drawing global attention. His battles with the Detroit Pistons' bad boys in the late 1980s tested his will, but by the 1990s, Jordan had conquered the league. The Bulls won 6 championships in 8 years, and Jordan became a global icon, his influence stretching far beyond basketball. With endorsements like Nike's Air Jordans and appearances around the world, he turned the NBA into an international brand. By the mid-1990s, basketball wasn't just America's game, it was the world's game. The 1990s also saw expansion into Canada with the Toronto Raptors and Vancouver Grizzlies, further proving the league's global reach. Stars like Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, and John Stockton made their marks, while the 1992 United States Olympic Dream Team, featuring Jordan, Magic, Bird, and other legends, showcased NBA talent to the entire world. The Dream Team's dominance in Barcelona was more than just basketball. It was cultural diplomacy, spreading the NBA's influence to every corner of the globe. But as Jordan retired in 1998, the NBA faced questions about its future. Could the league survive without its greatest icon? The answer came in the form of new superstars. Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan rose to dominance, ushering in the 2000s with championship runs. Shaquille O'Neal paired with Kobe to deliver a Lakers dynasty, while Duncan's San Antonio Spurs built a dynasty of their own, winning with teamwork, fundamentals, and consistency. The NBA had found its balance again, its torch carried into a new millennium. The 2000s and 2010s were defined by rivalries and innovation. LeBron James entered the league in 2003, hailed as the chosen one, and he delivered on the promise, leading teams to 10 finals appearances and 4 championships. His decision to join the Miami Heat in 2010 created the era of super teams, where stars joined forces to chase titles. Meanwhile, Stephen Curry arrived with a revolution of his own. His three-point shooting with the Golden State Warriors redefined basketball strategy, shifting the game toward pace and space, where long-distance shooting became the league's most powerful weapon. The Warriors' dynasty of the 2010s, paired with LeBron's greatness, gave fans some of the most thrilling finals in history. As the NBA moved into the 2020s, it faced challenges both old and new. The COVID-19 pandemic forced the league into the Orlando bubble in 2020, where games were played without fans, and the Los Angeles Lakers, led by LeBron, captured the championship in one of the most unique finals ever. Yet, despite empty arenas, the NBA proved resilient, showing its ability to adapt and endure. New superstars like Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, and Jason Tatum now carry the torch, representing a global wave of talent that reflects the NBA's international reach. From Greece to Serbia to Africa, the league is more global than ever before. And so, the story of the NBA is not just about basketball, it is about survival, innovation, and transformation. It began with peach baskets and dusty gyms, struggled through years of obscurity, and faced moments when its very existence was in doubt. But through stars who became legends, rivalries that captured the imagination, and moments that transcended the sport, the NBA became more than a game. It became a culture, a business, and a global language of greatness. Today, the NBA is one one of the most powerful sports leagues on earth, with millions of fans across every continent, from McCann to Russell, from Magic and Bird to Jordan, from Kobe and Shaq to LeBron and Curry. Every generation has carried the game forward, and as the next stars rise, the story of the NBA continues to be written. It is a story of legends carved into hardwood, of battles fought under bright lights, and of a league that rose from humble beginnings to capture the world's heart. This is the history of the NBA, a story of greatness, a story of resilience, and a story that even after nearly a century is still only just beginning.